as well.
Right.
Yeah, look how good I look in my new 1080p camera. Hey.
Now I'm the only one with bad resolution. First, I was the only one with a bad mic.
Do I look really? I look 1080p, don't I? I look really good. Does it say HD?
I can read the spines of the books to your right.
It's pretty awesome. But it doesn't say HD on mine though, does it?
It does for me. Keep talking.
Okay. Hey, hello. I'm gonna check.
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah, you've got it in the corner.
Cool. It depends on a few things, right? It depends on if the camera quality is there. It also depends on if you've got the bandwidth to be able to push through.
Okay.
That's the other thing. So.
And then the microphone. Is that all right? Sounding good?
I think so. All right, we got 8 people on.
Did you spring for a Yeti too?
No, I just got a new computer for work.
Oh, and it's got the built-in mic that is that
built-in mic. But they've gotten that technology down pretty good these days.
Yeah, they're getting there. All right, so I have no idea if Ryan's gonna be joining. It sounds like Breaking might be out, and then we're gonna wait for Blake. But we've got a few minutes until we. Oh,
Ryan
right there. How about it?
Hey, Ryan, right on cue.
Where are you talking about me?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if Ryan's joining. I was like, it's in the calendar, but
if you put it in the calendar, it's a good chance.
Okay.
Hey, Ryan, look how good I look in my new camera.
Oh wow, look how bad I look in my old one.
I got a personal trainer, y'all. I'm like fucking ripped. I mean, look at this.
Oh wow, gun show.
Yeah, it's been one session, like you can tell already, right? In one session.
It works quick, right?
Yeah.
You get to do before and after picture, like they do on Instagram.
Yeah, I got to take my shirt off.
Where they like blatantly stick out their belly, and then the other one they're sucking it in.
You should be wearing sleeveless there, Kerry.
Yeah, I know. I should roll these up. I had a protein shake after it. Man, I felt like I was getting ripped while I was drinking that thing. I felt so badass. I'm like drinking my protein, boy.
Are you just using a shake weight the entire time?
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I forgot about those.
I did this exercise where it goes to your belly and you go like that the whole time.
Oh yeah, is that how it works?
Yeah.
What's that?
The demonstration, we needed that.
You're welcome, ladies.
Yeah.
Can you put the hangout for the YouTube?
Yeah, I will put the link there here in a second. Let me do that. There we go. Boom, boom.
How you been, Brian?
I've been all right. I've had a well-deserved vacation, so I'm still reacclimating. Today was my first day back, and it was a rough day.
Yeah, it always is.
Finding all the things that didn't get done.
Yeah, you had a well-deserved vacation, didn't you?
And the first day of vacation was getting that opinion.
That's
so
awesome.
it started out great.
Guys,
where did you go?
What's that?
Did you go anywhere? Or?
Yeah, actually, a really great trip, and I highly recommend it. We did whitewater rafting, overnight whitewater rafting in the Grand Canyon with with the kids. I've got a 17-year-old and 13-year-old, and so we figured they were ready to hardcore raft and camp, and it was a good time.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do the Green River out in Utah. It's it runs through like the Canyonlands or something. I don't know. It looks awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun. I had done the New and the Golly, but this was a different kind of whitewater.
Oh, cool. I've done Upper Golly before, so
yeah, the Golly is crazy.
Yeah, this isn't Colorado where we did it anyways, isn't as crazy. It's rapids and then smooth, and you get to chill and look at the canyon walls and float around, and then another hardcore one, and then you chill, and so it's kind of broken up the whole way like that.
Did y'all camp or anything, or just cabins?
Yeah, it was camping on the basically the shore.
Nice.
We had guides, and they brought all the food and did all the cooking. So it was we were worn out, so it was nice to have someone else cooking steak.
Yeah. I did it we did a Missouri canoe trip. It's a 3-day, 40-mile. It's just canoeing. There's not really any rapids or anything in the Ozarks. And there's no cell phone service. It's awesome.
No. So it's you and your dry bag and
and bourbon and vape pen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Brian had lots of vape pens on his trip.
Lots of I got teenagers, right?
17-year-old son.
Now, if you didn't cook your own food, does that really count as camping?
Well, I had to set up my own tent, so and we helped.
We also
we
had
helped
like
with
an RV, like a 60-foot RV, but
yeah,
like
it's called. I've heard some
glamping.
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 You had
some
a
of
foam
the-
mattress and an egg crate.
They do have some of the glamping on some of these trips, but this one was tents, and we weren't even get tents at first. We were just going to sleep under the stars, but the women in the family kind of demanded tents.
Oh, I'm sure.
They're so
yeah, I
needy.
think so.
Always needing that tents.
I know.
Don't want the bugs all in your face while you're sleeping. I don't understand.
Scorpions. I mean, come on. What's just,
That's
keep your
nothing.
mouth closed when you sleep.
Last time I went camping in a tent, it was so humid that the top of the tent was soaking wet and it hadn't even rained. It was just like moisture coming up from the ground, soaking the
Yeah,
tent.
just collecting it. Yeah.
It was miserable.
Have you ever heard the Jim Gaffigan talking about camping? Do you know Jim Gaffigan is a comedian?
I do, but I haven't. He's the ketchup guy and the hot pocket guy.
Yeah. He's like, there's no such thing as a happy camper. He's like, you're a happy camper. He's like, oh, it's pretty good. Yeah, what's it?
You're trying to say you can't do it justice?
No, I'm not. I'm not as pale as him, and my delivery is not as good.
All right. Just waiting for Blake here.
Come on, Blake.
Got Wi-Fi issues again.
No, he's got twins.
I just realized I don't have water in here, so all I have is whiskey around me. So hopefully I don't get
Did you get that Old Forester package, Kenny?
I did.
I did not get an Old Forester package.
Yeah, we're on the A list.
I don't get anything from them.
What did you get? What sample did you get?
The presidential, or the president's choice.
What those assholes? Did you get one sip?
No, I don't get anything from them.
They're nice people.
Never.
You just got to ask them nicely.
They love us.
I'll get you the information of the PR people we talked to. But yeah, they sent us you had the president's choice in there. They sent you a rocks glass tumbler.
Yeah, leather coasters,
as well as like an ice cube mold. Like, hey,
Nice.
and a fancy leather with the history of.
It's snowy. If it's so great outside, then why are the bugs trying to get in my house? Jim Gaffin on camping. All right.
Oh, chat's up. I got a link to that.
Yeah, I need to see that.
Oh yeah.
So, people,
I'll put the link in here again just because.
Hopefully, I don't look like a serial killer this time.
What's up, everybody?
How's it going?
It's going.
Switch this.
Blake, I got a high definition camera, so you can look at me all night. You just click my square down there.
Just set you as my default.
Yeah, just leave this default. You'll just see me leaning back. Just yeah.
Well, it's about time for you to go on like another all whiskey diet again there.
I'm on a diet. Yeah, I'm on a reverse diet. I think if you eat a lot, it keeps your metabolism more ramped up, and so it's like a different
Giving the metabolism a workout.
Yeah.
10 meals a day.
Yeah, you just keep the metabolism going. You just eat every time you're hungry, and just keep it going up till midnight. That's gonna work. Good strategy.
Just popcorn and like Nerds candy. That's all you need, right? Cool. Well, it is 9:04. I think you guys ready to just kick it off?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Bring my notes here real quick. Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Pursuit Podcast, the official podcast of Bourbon. This is the 22nd recording of the Bourbon Community Roundtable. It's a crowd favorite and always a fan favorite because we've got bloggers, we've got some podcasters, just Ryan and I usually, but
we have bloggers.
Yeah,
Who blogs?
They're like C-list celebrities in the bourbon world, right? But they're getting there. They're getting there. No, I'm just kidding. But this is always great because we've got a lot of good information to kind of go through tonight in regards of latest news of what's been happening. We're also starting to hit the front end of the announcements for bourbon releases that are starting to come out because of things that are starting to hit the TTB, and people start getting really antsy about what's going to be coming out, and there's a lot of things to talk about. And I think more or less is going to be a lot of what we do best, which is speculation and guessing, right? Because that's all we can really do when it hits there. We can just talk about what we can expect to see from it. And then odds of actually getting it are going to be slim only because of how crazy bourbon's gotten, and we can't get our hands on it anymore. So, Ryan, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, great, Kenny. How are you?
Hey,
Long time no see.
Hey,
we got some good banter going already. All right.
I'm excited.
But yeah, I mean, anything else you want to add to that before we kick it off?
No, I think you covered it all. I mean, yeah, we got some interesting topics. I think you sent out the email listing some topics, so I think they're going to be good ones, and I'm excited to hear everyone's take as always.
What are you drinking tonight?
I just poured the President's Choice sample we got.
How much did you pour? Like a droplet? Let me see that thing. How much did they send you?
Well, 200 ml, I think, is what it is.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty good. I like it. Good job, Campbell, picking it first.
Real quick, is that a national release or is that just Kentucky?
Just gift shop Kentucky only at the new distillery.
Yeah, we can give a little bit of a heads up about that. Is that the Old Forester has just opened their downtown location here in Louisville, Kentucky, and one of the things that they're trying to do, that most people are trying to do with Inside of the Bourbon Trail, is trying to have something that gets you inside the door. So you have a distillery only release or a gift shop only release, and the President's Choice is their gift shop only release. And if I remember or recall correctly, and Ryan can correct me, is that they are chosen with Campbell Brown as well as Jackie Zykin. So they are choosing them together, and they're trying to proof them down as well to find out what she says is when it sings its best song.
It sounded like Jackie picked out most of them that on the flavor profile that she thought Campbell liked, and then he picked them from there. So, but I think this one's pretty good. What was it going to be? $75 a bottle?
75, 90. It's somewhere around there. But again, it's just one of those things to try to get you in the door. But before we start talking about that, I want to go ahead and introduce everybody that's here on the round table. And we're going to start with Blake. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, so I'm Blake from Bourboner.com. You can find me at all social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, a little bit of YouTube reviews here and there, but BOURBONR.com.
And what are you drinking tonight?
I just poured this Elijah Craig store pick from one of my locals, Browdy's. These are actually really good, and they're like $25-$30, and I think this one was 10 or 11 years. So I'm glad to see the Elijah Craig Private Barrels coming back.
Me too.
Now, wouldn't you rather see that be barrel proof, though? I mean, let's be real.
I think everyone would rather see
it. That would be ideal.
Which you kind of wonder why they don't allow that. I mean, I can't imagine from it's going to cost the same either way. Yeah, it's going to cost the same. They're already doing the private picks, allow you to do your proof. I guess they're thinking, they don't want to reduce the brand of the ECBP. I don't know. I'm kind of shocked they haven't said, all right, now we'll roll that out. But then maybe, if they do the barrel proof on those, and then some of them aren't 12 years, and there's some confusion there on the Elijah Craig barrel proof still being 12 years. Who knows? Maybe we'll see that one day. If only we knew someone at Heaven Hill we could throw that suggestion to.
I know a few people. Kenny does.
No idea. I don't have a guess. So, all right, let's go on. Brian, you're up next. Brian, you're on mute. Brian, you're still on mute.
He's still on vacation.
Brian, if you're still talking, you're still on mute, buddy.
See if we can.
There, can you hear me now?
Yes. Thanks for. I had to get my editing in for this week. So
I want to make sure you edit fully on this.
I texted him before to make sure he did that.
So yeah, Brian from Sippin' Corn. You can find me on my Google blog, Sippin' Corn, and mostly on Twitter and a little bit on Facebook. And you'll see the legal historical side of bourbon along with some reviews. And I've got my Wilderness Trail that I think a lot of you guys picked up over the last couple of weeks. Haven't tried the rye yet, but this is their 4-year single barrel bourbon, which I'm really enjoying.
Good deal. Carrie, round us out.
Hey, this is Carrie from Twitter at bourbon_gamer. That's usually where you'll find me. I'm actually selling a website. If anybody's interested, the website is suburbia.com. It's got a lot of Google links, a lot of great articles you can write off of to get some publicity. I don't use that site anymore, so it is for sale. Just send me a PM. And yeah, you'll find me online. And I'm drinking Henry McKenna right now. And then I'm going to finish. I got, in honor of 1792, I got some Bourbon, which has nothing to do with 1792, but it reminded me of them.
Somewhat in the same family of brands, so close enough.
Yeah. So I guess that's going to be a lead in for our first story tonight, because it's the one that I know we got to talk about it because it is news, and it's probably old news by now for pretty much everybody within the industry, or anybody that even it is somewhat familiar with. There you go. What happened? We talked about.
Yeah. There was an accident.
Yeah. Wait, what?
I think most of us here, our phones were buzzing. We had family sending us links as if we hadn't heard of it yet, right? But Warehouse 30 at Barton had collapsed. So I guess first we'll go around and see who got the most texts or links that were sent to them. Because Kara, you actually posted something funny on Bourboner about a game, right?
Yeah, I said tonight you got to take a pour of bourbon for every time a friend or family member sent you a link to the article. I probably was in the 8 to 9 range between, friends that I've made through bourbon channels, and then non-friends, non-bourbon friends, just regular casual friends or family members that are like, wow, did you see this? And it's like yesterday they sent the link. I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. I had heard of that, but yeah, it's like with something, bourbon related news like that comes out, it fascinates people, I think. Mm-hmm. And they know that you're into bourbon and they can't wait to share it with you. And I got to make it act like that's the first time I've seen it from everyone. But yeah, I mean, if a dozen or so people probably sent me a link.
It shows you how your friends and family view you, because one piece of bourbon information hits the mainstream and they're like, oh, well, I know who I got to share this with. My alcoholic cousin who's writes and talks about bourbon way too much.
All the time.
Yeah.
Well, and did you have to drink twice if they did the joke about there's going to be the warehouse collapse surviving 1792?
Or link the picture of the bottle.
Yes.
I
exactly.
actually had more people asking me, man, do you think you could get some of those barrels? I'm like, I doubt it. I doubt they'll, those are either gone or they're just going to go back into another warehouse. I don't think they'll let me drive my truck up there and just load a couple in the back and drive off really quick.
Yeah, it's not like they're damaged like couches that fell off of the back of a truck or something, right? Like these barrels can survive a lot. Like most of them are going to be just fine. I would say probably the majority of them are, except the ones that are busted and that are leaking into the river, right?
Somebody said they're calling this type of loss the gopher share.
I want to show a picture of the bottle that somebody made that I found really creative. Hang on, let's get this open so that our viewers can see that.
Well, let's keep going, because remember, this is audio also podcast, right? So
the funny thing was, I thought
while Carrie finds this meme.
Yeah, just go ahead and mute.
The funny thing was, me and Kenny were driving back, and the local news were like, "Yeah, we've been having reports of a barrel or whiskey warehouse falling down. We've got reporters on their way." And I'm like, "What are they going to do? Get there and be like, yes, it's falling down." Yeah, we confirmed it.
That's the drones. That's where the drones came in.
I was going to say, have you never watched your local news? That's what they do every single night. It's like, there's been a crash. Okay, well, we're standing out here on the side of the highway, and it's true. There is a crash.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, you can see the Warehouse 30 collapse bottle.
No, we can see myself.
No,
but anyway, let's continue this on, because this isn't great for audio podcast there, Carrie.
Here it is.
Yeah, we saw that. Everybody saw that.
Everybody saw that.
Old news.
Right. Audio podcast.
It's kind of like everyone saw the actual pictures of the warehouse collapsing.
It does look massive. You kind of forget how big those warehouses are until you're like, oh my gosh, that is a ton of barrels sitting on the ground. That's only half of it.
Yeah.
It was funny. I was playing golf. Sorry, go ahead.
How many warehouses does Barton have? Like 7 or 8?
No, they have like probably over 10, probably 15.
Oh, really? Okay.
They've got 45 acres worth of land over there, right? So they've got lots of room. And that's what I think people don't realize there's so much talk on social media about, oh no, like I can't believe like what's going to happen, bourbon shortage, and everybody that's in here knows that's a drop in the bucket. Like
most of it's brandy, because the bottom at Barton, only the first 5 floors are bourbon, the rest are brandy up on top.
Other way around.
What's the brandy
brand? Brandy's at the top, yeah.
Or brandy's at the top, yeah. Sorry.
What's
it does
the brandy
make you, you do bourbon tours and you walk around these rick houses that they're like, oh, this is 200 years old or 150 years old. You look at them, you're like, God, if any one of these things collapses, I'm dead. Like anybody in that warehouse, thankfully nobody was in there, but if anyone was in there, I mean, there's thousands of tons of weight that will just destroy you. So it does make you think a little bit about the really old brick houses and through them. And, now might be running through the end of it, as we go in there, like, I don't want to be in the middle of this collapse.
Well, it's funny. I played golf with an engineer that you can trace it back, but he does work on warehouses. But I was like, what the hell happened? He's like, oh, we know what happened. But it sounded like that some other contractors were used, and I don't know. That's just speculation, but they didn't listen to the original engineers.
Yeah, didn't Bourbon Truth write a post back in 2015 talking about some beetles that were causing issues, and it sounded like Barton was ignoring it, and
yeah, that's exactly what you're kind of leading me up to. Is there was that article, and anybody that is a fan of the show, they can go back and find that previous podcast that with Bourbon Truth. We didn't really talk about it, but yeah, there was an article back in 2015. A lot of people linked to it on social media, and it just talked about these beetles essentially that eat through wood and leave these traces. It also talked about how they were doing tours in some of these warehouses. They had some people that were sort of, I'm going to say the wrong word. It's like entomologists or whatever, basically like bug.
That's right. Entomologists. Very good.
Yeah. So basically bug doctors that were saying that, like it's pretty much unsafe to be doing tours through here, to be doing anything like that. But it comes with a huge cost to be able to actually get rid of these beetles, because you actually have to empty out the entire rick house. You have to, basically fog it out or do whatever you can to get rid of the infestation. And then you have to replace all the beams and everything that these beetles have eaten through. And then you got to roll everything back in the rick house, right? So they're talking like, I think like there was up to like $250,000 like per rick house is what it was looking at. Maybe more than that. And so a lot of people just kind of turned a blind eye to it.
But now they're going to have to build a structure to support the existing warehouse to get all the existing barrels out and then repair the warehouse. So
let's see which one costs more.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do with all those barrels now? I mean, leave them out like tornado warehouse surviving? Like let them just, where you put it all?
And now they're getting fines because about like 1,000 fish have turned up dead in the river. So
I read that from Janet Patton today.
Yeah. A lot of my friends on Facebook, because I am from Bardstown, I have a lot of friends but anyways, they're posting pictures of it like, screw Barton, they're killing our fish. That's where my I grew up fishing and all this stuff. So,
look, those fish
because it's leaking into the water.
Those fish went out as happy as they could have possibly gone out. Okay, they're not on the end of some hook in a fish fryer. They went out happy as can be. So I don't feel bad.
Yeah, and like to go back to your question that you had asked earlier, it is Diageo that actually has a contract with Barton there where they store whiskey. Somebody put it on here. Fleischmann's Brandy is the actual one. Yeah, so yeah, I was actually just there doing a barrel pick last week and got to talk to Josh, and thankfully I wasn't there that day because there would probably have been a little bit of chaos, but.
You could have been first one reporting on the scene.
I could have.
It's Kenny from Bourbon Pursuit. We're live here.
Just like hustling out to the field real quick. Be like, y'all got to check this out. But
like Gary McCord or Flaherty. I'm live here with
like about a tornado or something.
So what did they say about the brandy? I kind of cut you off.
Oh, nothing. It's just they're just contracted through Diageo to keep aging brandy there. And then, like I said, Ryan, I think had it backwards. So like the top floor fours at the rick houses are actually 1792. The bottom ones are brandy. I don't really know where very old Barton's actually within that mix either. I didn't really ask those questions, but Now we have something to talk about next time. But with that, at least we're glad that everybody was safe. Nobody got hurt. But I think
for sure.
good. We could
have been much worse.
Yeah, I think it's just gonna be a wake up call to the rest of the industry that I think it's maybe they should go ahead and just pay somebody to go out there and tap a few beams and make sure that it's not going to fall over, right? So
the Busiks are going to make even more money, or the Blinkos.
Yeah.
So speaking of Sazerac.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice transition.
I know, right? It's like, man, everything's just flowing tonight, guys. Like,
I just meant I was going to pour some Bowman. That's all I meant.
Good deal. So let's go ahead and talk about this little next piece because it involves one of the closest members of this roundtable. So on June 14th, 2018, one of the panelists here on this roundtable actually countersued Sazerac and won. A quick summary of the decision kind of goes as follows. Will Arvin and Wes Murray are the guys that are behind Castle and Key's venture. And even though Marion Barnes is really the one we see on Instagram all the time. But during the period they were renovating, it was commonly referred to as the Old Taylor Distillery, or that spot formerly known as the Old Taylor Distillery, because they were still coming up with a brand name or trying to figure out some way of how you recognize it. Sazerac was not happy with this and eventually sued them for, I think, and he's going to probably correct me here, whether it was defamation of the name of Old Taylor, saying that it caused some brand confusion. So I'm going to let Brian sort of take it over from here and kind of give us a little bit of a recap of really kind of how this all sort of transpired and maybe some more of the nitty gritty details. And we'll ask some tough questions along the way here.
Sure. The Old Taylor Distillery was stopped distilling in 1972, and Beam stored barrels there until the 90s when they abandoned it and moved everything away. And anyone who had been out there, and I know a lot of folks in Kentucky have been out there, it's kind of was the thing to do. It was apocalyptic. I mean, there was asbestos everywhere. There's roofs were caving in, floors were caving in. A few people had tried to start businesses there, and nothing ever started. One firm went in there and bought it just to harvest the wood from the rick houses and some of the brick, and that caused one of the warehouses to collapse. So it was just a mess, and no one wanted to touch it. But Will Arvin and Wes Murray came in, and they sunk a ton of money into it and got the asbestos abatement folks out, and they repaired the roofs and the floors, and they've started Castle and Key. But Sazerac didn't like that they were referring to it as the historic Old Taylor Distillery. They didn't like that the sign was still above the front door that said the Old Taylor Distilling Company. They didn't like that the limestone had been carved on the side of the castle saying the Old Taylor Distillery 1887. They didn't like that one of the warehouses had 20-foot high letters that said Old Taylor. And so they got sued for trademark infringement. Because Sazerac from Beam bought the Old Taylor name in 2009, and then of course have started that's bottom shelf, but they started the E.H. Taylor brand back up, and they said it was trademark infringement. And last year, the district court disagreed and dismissed the case. And a couple of weeks ago, a week and a half ago, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals agreed. And said that it wasn't trademark infringement, and said that that Peristyle, Castle and Key had been fairly using the name E.H. Taylor and Old Taylor as a description, as a geographic descriptor of what the place is, and that's not trademark use. That's fine to do, and so it's.
Oh well.
Guys,
cliffhanger.
What's that?
You cut out there.
Oh, I'm cutting out. Yeah. So where I probably cut out was a lot of people can imagine that the big guys with deep pockets can make it hurt for the new guys. And fortunately, we were able to turn the tables, and now we're comfortable in being able to say that this is the Old Taylor Distillery. This is the history that happened there. This is what E.H. Taylor did there, and it's not trademark infringement.
Good. Mm-hmm. Good for them. And good for you.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I think I guess kind of I mean, you don't have to. And also, I need to pre-warn everybody. Like, if we ask a question and Brian is not legally or liable able to say it, then he doesn't have to answer this, right? So let's just make sure that we're ahead of this, and we're not just like, "Oh, Brian, quit being a dick and just tell us," right? Like,
it's a little bigger than that.
Yeah. This isn't Judge Judy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess was there like some sort of thought process that as soon as they bought this, that like they expected people to go and start carving off the as you had said, those big signs that say the Old Taylor Distilling Company, like right off the side in the limestone? Like, what was their expectation? Like, I don't know how you could even say that.
Well, I don't think you can, and they didn't want the signs up, and that really creased them. And it's you can't change history. I mean, there's a lot of people know that E.H. Taylor has history at the place that's now Buffalo Trace. It used to be the OFC, the Old Fire Copper. That's essentially all gone except for the Bourbon Pompeii thing that they've been uncovering lately. But he's got some history there, no doubt. They've got history there. But where Taylor really made his mark on the bourbon world was at the Old Taylor Distillery. When he was at the OFC, he went bankrupt. He had to flee the country to avoid creditors. He was selling the same barrels twice to different buyers, and he was in trouble. And he had to get bailed out by George T. Stagg. They were in business for about 10 years, and they parted ways. And that's when Old Taylor was built as a castle. It existed as a distillery before that, but E.H. Taylor got together with his sons and built a new distillery there, the castle. And that's where he sponsored the Bottle and Bond Act. That's where he made the brand that's known today as the Old Taylor brand. That's where he really made history. That's where he invented bourbon tourism by the way he built that distillery and the castle and the pergolas and he was bringing tourists in by train. He had a railroad station there called Taylorton Station, and he brought people in, and it was a destination spot. I mean, he's the guy who started bourbon tourism. He's responsible for that.
Talk a little bit about what the
places have history, and now we're comfortable in talking about that history.
So talk about what the Lanham Act is, because there was a link that was from the Open Circuit Court judge that you had actually sent us. So kind of give some background about what that is and sort of how that played a role into all this as well.
Sure. Trademark law started with bourbon. I mean, it went hand in hand with bourbon. And as a shameless plug, in November of this year, you can find a book called Bourbon Justice that talks about the development of trademark law. But that was what we call common law. That's just where law sort of develops on its own through the courts. And the Lanham Act is a federal statute that really took over from the common law, and it defines what trademarks are and what trademark infringement is and what fair use of a name is that doesn't get you into trouble for trademark infringement. And so what Sazerac alleged here was that Castle and Key violated the Lanham Act, which is essentially trademark infringement. So whenever you hear Lanham Act, think trademarks. And if there's ever a complaint about the Lanham Act, someone is alleging that a trademark has been improperly used, which is what we call infringement.
Okay. So I guess there's a few good things that actually got brought up within the chat, which is probably good to run by you. One, Joshua Smith actually said, you don't see Heaven Hill going after Diageo, even though they have a 100-foot tall smokestack with the name Old Fitzgerald on it, right? Because they own that.
That's exactly right. And that's something that I brought up to the district court judge. I used that very example that he mentioned, that Heaven Hill isn't doing that. And when you go to Stitzel-Weller, they have a sign about this was Pappy's office. And you get to say that because that's a historical fact. You get to leave up the road that Stitzel-Weller is on is Old Fitzgerald Road. And you've got the Old Fitzgerald smokestack. You don't need to take any of those things down because those are historical locations and geographic places and true accurate facts.
And so there's some more that's going on between Kevin and Josh, and they're sort of talking about the Diageo actually owning Bullet and kind of having that tour and calling it the Bullet experience at Stitzel Weller, right? And having that sort of name, even though Weller in the name is actually owned by Sazerac, right?
Right.
And so Josh was saying that apparently there was also some scuffs that happened with the Blade and Bow release. So was there something that happened within Diageo and Stitzel Weller at that point, or sorry, Diageo and Sazerac because of the Stitzel Weller name?
Well, and it went beyond that too. I forget which Orphan Barrel release it was, but there was one that was distilled at what at the time was called the George T. Stagg Distillery, and I remember was it Forged Oak? Yeah, that might have been that would have been old enough to be that, and I remember reading, not really hearing anything confirming it, but reading that Sazerac was bent out of shape about that. But again, it's a geographic fact. You can say where something was distilled, and you can use the Stitzel Weller name because that's a place. And Luxco did this too for a while with their Rebel Yell brand. They I remember when they first came out with Rebel Reserve, the back of the label said distilled under the old Weller tradition. They're even using the name. It's a historical fact. You get to say that. You can't call your brand Old Weller, but you can talk about what the historical background is.
And so before we actually started the recording and press publish, you had also mentioned something that Sazerac sort of does that you were actually able to bring up, and the fact that if you look at the Old Taylor bottle today that sits on the shelf, they actually have an image of the actual Old Taylor distillery still on the bottle, right? So kind of talk about that and how that played into the case as well.
Yeah, so if you guys want to lean over low to the bottom shelf and look at a bottle of Old Taylor, you look in the background,
right? Man, yeah.
It's not even being we're attacking it.
Pick a man while he's down. Jeez.
You'll see an image of the castle. If you've been to Castle and Key or seen any pictures, you kind of know what the outline of the castle is. And if you look at the background of an Old Taylor bottle, you can see the peristyle Castle and Key castle. It's an image that's on there. So one of the counterclaims in the case was that if anyone's causing confusion, it's Sazerac who's causing confusion by their what's called trade dress, by what they have on their label. They're showing an image of a distillery that doesn't distill Old Taylor. And if anything is going to cause confusion, it's that. Castle and Key's not causing any confusion because it's only using the name in a historically accurate geographic sense.
So before we keep going down this rabbit hole too far, was there something that you looked at with all these arguments that was sort of like nail in the coffin? Like, that's it. Like, we've got this. Like, is there one of those defining moments for you?
Well, it was really early on. I had a post right when the complaint was filed that I put up, and I identified right away that this is history. And what I said in that early post was you can't erase history. And that's all Castle and Key has ever done, is use the Old Taylor name and E.H. Taylor in a historic geographic sense. And it's fair to do that. It has to be fair to do that because you can't change what history is. I mean, it gets to being the verge of Orwellian when you start rewriting history.
It's like if somebody were to sell an apple at a store, then Apple can come in and say, we have the name Apple, right?
Yeah, because you're selling an apple.
Right.
I got
Great
you.
analogy. Way to chime in. I love it.
Now, question on this. Do you think it was something, with like the George T. Stagg and Sazerac didn't seem to go after Diageo on that? Do you think it was something where Sazerac thought, hey, you know what, these are smaller guys, we can just kind of win this one pretty easy and be done with it and keep going? Or does this kind of set up for future lawsuits when the smaller guy realizes, oh no, we don't have to just kind of roll over and take the signs down?
Well, I tell you, I can't guess what Sazerac's thinking.
Yeah.
I can look at the other threats and lawsuits that Sazerac has filed, though. And one of those, I showed the bottle that I'm drinking tonight, Wilderness Trail. Some people might remember that its first name was Wilderness Trace, and Sazerac objected to that they were using the name Trace, which to me is either a generic name or at least an accurate name of what they call trails, the old animal trails. But Wilderness Trace decided not to fight and to change their name to Wilderness Trail. And there's other cases that Sazerac filed. I mean, they sued Brown-Forman for their Tennessee Fire because they thought it was too close to their cinnamon whiskey. They sued a Canadian whiskey that was called Bison Ridge, because they dared use a name or I guess an image that looked like a buffalo, or another word that people don't know the difference between a bison and a buffalo. And so they sued them. There's a lot of lawsuits out there by Sazerac, and a lot get and they win a lot. The only ones I'm aware where Sazerac loses were when they had Ridgemont or Ridgewood Reserve, and Brown-Forman beat them on that because of Woodford Reserve. And then when they left the Kentucky Distillers Association and they still tried to use the words Kentucky Bourbon Trail, they weren't allowed to do that. So they're pretty active in litigation.
Just get along. I mean, it's just bourbon. Come on.
I agree. This should the Castle and Key should have been embraced by Sazerac.
Yeah.
There's shared history there. I think they both benefit by using that shared history. Just like there's a lot of cooperation among the distillers, and this would have been a perfect time for more cooperation.
Eric Rogue has, or Rogie, I can't say his last name properly, but he has one more question before we start moving on here, and it says, "Do you think Sazerac has the most lawyers in bourbon?"
Ooh, tough call. My guess is probably Diageo.
Yeah.
Can I make one point real quick, just so people, I think most of the time when people think Sazerac, they think Buffalo Trace, right? Because Buffalo Trace is the most.
I think Fireball.
Well, right, besides you, because you drink that all the time. But most people think Buffalo Trace probably and think Mark Brown and those guys. Those guys have nothing to do with it. There's a corporation of people who I don't even know if they're probably down in New Orleans or something. But I know that BT are some good folks. And when this kind of stuff goes down with Sazerac, I hope people don't get the reputation that it's Buffalo Trace doing this stuff when it's some other greedy people in some other place. So I don't know. That's just kind of the way I feel about that is I think sometimes probably the employees themselves are kind of sitting there and they know that it's making news that Sazerac is suing for a name they don't even use anymore. And it's like, it gives them a bad rap. But at the end of the day, there are some really rich people trying to get even more rich and using their power hunger to try to do stuff that's not even necessary.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I doubt it's Freddie or anybody else like that. It's over at Buffalo Trace that's actually working there day in, day out. Susanna and Bo.
Harlan's pretty cutthroat. He told me I was going to die.
He told you that on episode 2, right?
Yeah. He's like, "What do you do for a living?" And I was like, he's like, "That will kill you." And I was like, "Thanks a lot."
Oh man. All right. So we'll wrap it up with if anybody else has any more law questions they want to kind of talk about this case or anything else you want to throw by Brian, because this was great, and hopefully he doesn't need to go and make any quick last minute annotations to his book he has to release to slide this one in.
I hope not. So, I've got the proof right now. So
I got a question, Brian.
Yeah.
So when Castle and Key bought that, and they obviously did bought they probably did a very extensive trademark search. Why wouldn't that have been brought up then, I guess, when they were originally buying this property or whatever?
Well, it's two separate issues. You've got trademarks on the one side and you've got geographic facts on the other. So Castle and Key has never used those names, Old Taylor or E.H. Taylor, as a trademark. It's not going to be on any of their whiskey bottles. They're not going to call any of their bourbon anything to do with Taylor. So it's really just defining the geographic location. It's using it as a descriptor.
Gotcha.
So it's you never do a trademark search because you're not using it as a trademark.
Gotcha.
Last question that's coming from Druther007. So did Sazerac have to pay Castle and Key attorney fees? Was there a settlement that you can talk about?
No, it's really, really hard to get attorney's fees in the United States. The basic rule here is that each side pays their own way. And in a case like that, in a case like this, that's really disappointing. Because you've got one side with a lot more money than the other, and both have to pay their own way.
So really, the only thing that came out of it was just basically the way that says like, okay, we were right all along. That's it, right?
Yeah, and so we get to say we were right from the beginning, and we get to tell people the history, and we get to leave the sign up, and
and it costs us a shit ton of money,
and the money's out the door. Yeah.
Good for them.
And you said they're not using any names. They're not, using anything that's really, on that trademark side. So there's really no reason for them to work cautiously.
Who's this guy?
I mean, who's this guy? Hold on.
I didn't want to interrupt Brian. He was really on a roll there.
Nick, get yourself in real quick.
This is Nick from Breaking Bourbon, by the way. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I was running a little late. Had a 5-year-old birthday party, dinner, and movie that ran a little longer than anticipated, but Incredibles 2 was actually pretty good. So
it's a good one.
I won't give anything away, but
It's not bad.
Spoilers.
Not bad.
So anyway, go back to the question.
Yeah, so I think I heard it, Nick. So yeah, as long as it's not used as on a label, as a brand, it's not being used in a trademark way. So there's reason to be cautious, I guess. It's a reason to not use it on a label. That might be as one of the Sixth Circuit judges said during oral argument, he thought that might be infringement. But that's not what the plan has ever been. That's not what any of the testimony ever was. And in fact, it was just the opposite. They don't plan on using the Old Taylor name or the Taylor name or the E.H. Taylor name as the brand.
So was a way for you to be like, instead of just paying me, I'll take like 8 barrels of bourbon? Like, was that, did that ever cross your mind?
Yeah, I'd like some.
Can you? Yeah.
I've heard some really good things about what Mary Ann is distilling, but and I know some people have done barrel picks there. I haven't even done one, so I can't say I've even tasted any of the distillate, but I've heard good things about it.
So I've done a quote unquote pick there before, right? So, but the pick isn't necessarily a pick. You essentially get to go and fill your own barrel. And so you get the hose and you bring it over, you turn it on, fill your barrel, bung it out and write your name on it and roll it on over to
and write
that massive warehouse. And then you sit there and now you hurry up and wait.
And you wait for what, 4 years or how long? As long as you want?
As long as you want. Yeah.
Well, here's... Let me show you something to close this out, Kenny. Let me show you what I got here. It's a 17-year-old Prohibition era, distilled in 1916, bottled in 1933.
That's ridiculous.
Wow. That's awesome.
So this is the real Old Taylor. And once my clock runs out that their time to try to appeal to the United States Supreme Court is done, they get 90 days to do that. Once that passes, this will be opened and any of the bourbon.
And we're all invited?
I'm saying we're all going to be in
Yeah,
I'll be at Lake Forest.
If we can plan on 90 days from June 14th, whoever's here, we'll open that.
I'm in.
Let's see. Actually, isn't that Bourbon and Beyond weekend? Perfect timing.
Is it really perfect timing?
I think it is.
Hey,
That would, June to September would be.
I mean, you just bring it to St. Matthews, so we don't have to go all the way to Middletown.
No, that's awesome. And then you might be able to. You could probably just buy a few of those bottles, and you can write them off as essentially research costs, right?
Sure, research, right? That's right.
All right. So let's go ahead and we'll move it on because we talked about that a lot. And now I think we're going to get into the next piece of it. We're really talking about the releases that are coming out because this is, as we said, we're starting to hit the front end of it. Things are hitting the TTB. Things are starting to hit the shelves a little bit early. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is Kentucky Owl Batch 2. You know, we had talked about it close to the end of 2017 and talked about, Kentucky Owl Batch 1 really knocked it out of the park, right? Kentucky Owl Rye Batch 1 really knocked it out of the park because it was a really good whiskey. It was a little bit higher price point than we all kind of really wanted in that $130, $140 range. And all of a sudden, and not only that, is there was tons of it, right? I mean, at that point, like anybody could have as much Kentucky Owl Rye as they possibly could afford. Some states had more than others, but it wasn't too hard to find it. It didn't have any value really over its retail and secondary just because of the sheer amount of it. And like I said, it was a solid whiskey. Now Batch 2 is getting ready to come out, and it's actually hit a few states already. And there's been some rumors that the suggested retail price is actually increased to about, I think it's like $189.99 or $190, and that's almost a 50% increase. It's a 50% increase than what we had seen last year. However, I have seen some posts that people said that they were able to buy it for $160. So I want to kind of gauge your all's thoughts on why go ahead and raise it? Do you think it's going to be a little more scarce? Do they think that, oh hell, people are idiots, they're going to buy it anyway? Like, what's your thoughts?
Yeah,
your second point.
I think that when you're able to sell as much as they were able to sell, there were none that sat on shelves. It flew off shelves, so they're going to that they may have less, but why not? I mean, it's one of those things, we hate it as consumers, but if you're the person responsible for it and you sell out rye in your first release, if people are going to pay the price, then unfortunately, if the demand is always going to exceed the supply in that case. And if it does, they're going to raise it. I mean, it's up to us to try it and say, this is not worth $189, and we're not going to buy it anymore. And but I mean, from his standpoint, with such a with it being such a huge success, I mean, I don't think I can blame him for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're looking for kind of a market equilibrium to say at what point does it sit on the shelves? At what point is it? Well, I won't name any high-end releases that sit on shelves anymore, but won't throw anyone under the bus. But it was gone. I mean, and there was there was a lot of that whiskey, but it was also really good too. So if I never really heard a bottle count. Did anyone else hear a bottle count on that one?
I'm just guessing, but it's based on how many came to Georgia.
Yeah, there's so if they had that many bottles.
What was the guess? I didn't hear it.
20,000.
20,000.
Yeah. I would probably push that even higher based on. I mean, I had a retailer here who he gets a lot of good stuff, but I think he ended up getting something like 30 cases or something of it, 6-pack cases. So I don't know.
Maybe
I just
40K range then.
Yeah, that would be closer to my guess. But when you sell through it, and they're just going to continue. Like we said, this isn't charity. This isn't goodwill stuff. This is it's a business, and if they can get more money for a product, we don't like it as consumers, but that's what's going to happen. And more people are flooding into bourbon, buying these high-end bourbons, because automatically when somebody walks into a store and they see $200 bottle on the shelf, they assume it's better. And that's just a fact. If it's better than, Pikesville that sits there for, $50, $60, whatever it is, that's kind of our own choice and preference. But for now, I think the price is just going to continue to go up.
Yeah, we keep buying, they're going to keep raising.
Yeah.
So it's just going to take us consumers not buying it, which is not going to happen because everyone's like, oh, there's something new out, gotta get it, got to try it.
For every one of us that says, all right, I'm not buying any more stupid releases anymore, there's 45 new guys coming into whiskey, or people coming into whiskey who have never heard of any of this controversy. They've probably never even watched a Bourbon Pursuit episode, which is crazy.
That's unheard of.
But they walk into a store and the owner's like, "Oh man, you got to try this. It's $200. You're gonna love it. It's the best rye I've ever had. It just won some spirit award.
Double gold."
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
and then,
that sort of goes back to the old thing of price being in perception, right? That if you're paying more for it, it has to be better, right? You got to give it to them that I still think that the 11-year age statement is still on the bottle. However, it has been, the proof has now gone down. I actually have a batch 2 in front of me, or sorry, batch 1 in front of me. It's 110.6. And I believe batch 2 is at like 101 proof. So either it was watered down to, make it, basically get out there. Batch 2
wasn't barrel proof either.
It wasn't? Okay.
No. It
started at like 130 proof.
Come on,
I think
Kenny,
it was.
Guys, I don't have a memory like you all do, okay?
Like 130 proof or something. So it's kind of interesting that they would drop the proof some, because I'm assuming, but I assume they kind of played around with it a little bit.
it reminds me of Old Fitzgerald and this fancy bottle that came out, and everybody went and sapped up these bottles at 130 plus retail. And then you finally opened it and you tried it and you're like, God, that's not that good.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter.
Although I disagree on the first. I haven't tried the second release of the rye yet, but the first rye I would probably
it's fantastic.
buy, even 2 or 3 more bottles if I could at $150. I think it was.
No, I know. I meant the Old Fitz.
But the Old Fitz, oh yeah, no, that's a whole different story. But
What's interesting about Kentucky Owl though was it was pretty reasonably available for a while. Yeah. I mean, you had, at least I think it was in 25 states. This batch 2 is going to be in 35, around 35. I was just doing a quick count. So there's going to be a little less of it. It's going to be in more states, and it was available. People were talking about it. Some people said, no, it's not available at all. Well, unfortunately, it just, in some places, it just didn't exist. But I know here, I could think of at least 5 or 6 stores that had it for a month or two. And I'm in New York, right? And it was pretty much priced to MSRP and had it and liked it. So then it became, okay, is it worth the 115, 120 that they're charged around here for it? So that's what it came down to. But at the end of the day, too, it's not necessarily us who's buying it, kind of trickles back up because it passes through that channel from the distillers or the producer's standpoint. It's sold, it's gone, right? So they've said goodbye to it. Now the retailers are maybe holding it. We know what some of those are that retailers are, kind of holding on to. And for the time being, I think that we're not really seeing that where retailers are too gun shy about that. I mean, I think the retailers want something that's special because they're having people come in all the time asking for Pappy and antique collection and all those other things. And they want to be able to say, yes, I've got, because any given retailer may only have a few bottles of it, or they're big enough volume that they're going to be able to move 20 bottles of it if that's what they get, right? So it's just, the market is where it is, and it's not at all surprising to see it coming out at this price, especially in more markets and with less production and with a good name, and they're riding in on that. They got to take advantage of it, strike when the iron's hot.
But isn't this kind of what we want from a release, that it's somewhat available, the quality is really good? Yeah, you got to pay a little bit more, but I think all of us, if they said, all right, Thomas Handy is going to be available, as long as you kind of get there somewhat in the general release date, but you're going to pay a little bit more for it, and that's it. I think all of us say, yeah, I'll pay $130 for Thomas Handy or a Stag or something like that. So I mean, I'm not upset about $200 is kind of pushing that. My threshold is not quite 200, but it probably will be, just the way prices are going.
Has your threshold creeped, Blake?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
everybody's creeping.
5
years ago. 5 years ago it was $50, right?
Yeah. Well, that's, you think even a few years back, we were telling stores they were gouging for charging $109 for a Stag, and now that just seems stupid. But yeah,
which is why that's why those 2 releases, I think, still to this day are so highly sought after, is because Buffalo Trace still keeps the retail price. And now, granted, you got to find a store willing to sell at retail price, but when you do, you're paying what you should be paying for the whiskey inside. I mean, Eagle Rare 17. If you can get that for under $100 these days, I mean, it's an awesome deal. Saz 18, and even if you can get a Pappy 15 at what 109 was retail this year, and you open and actually drink it, I mean, there's value inherent in that. So you look at these other releases, these other people that try to keep up, and like I look back at Whistle Pig and the Old Fitz and all these releases, the PHC 11, the Parker's Heritage last year, the 11 year. I mean, it was good, but $130 for essentially Elijah Craig barrel proof. I don't know. To me, it's like
younger.
Yeah, a year younger, and it's just we pay for it because we think it's going to be the hottest thing. Fear of missing out always drives the bourbon world, is the fear of missing out. 100%.
But how odd is that too, that we expect something good like that to be gone immediately? I mean, think about Scotch, think about the other, you go in and there's $200 bottles, there's $2,000 bottles. I mean, they're there all the time. Sometimes the same bottles. I know people that are buying that regularly, and that's what they drink. But in bourbon, it's like, oh, there's a $200 bottle. It's sitting there. It might have been there a month or whatever, but we expect it to be gone immediately because there's just nothing up in that tier. This idea that stuff's going to hit the retailers and be gone immediately. I feel that's definitely not sustainable. And it makes sense that price is going to move to the point where they're able to hold some kind of inventory, and it's able to move in a reasonable way that what they're used to. They don't buy product and have it all go out the same day. They expect to hold product for a while, and they expect for some high end like that to not get sold, probably the day that it comes out, unlike bourbon, which is just an anomaly to me.
Bourbon is not even about shelf anymore. It's not about the shelf items unless it's a store pick. I mean, you go through store after store after store, so many products on the shelf, and it's the same thing, right? So if you're hunting, you're looking for something that is not on the shelf of every store around.
Exactly.
And that's what it is now. It's the release that's not sitting on every shelf. No matter what the price is, there are people who will buy it just because they don't see it anywhere else.
Yeah, and if it's on the shelf, I'm only going to pay like $20 or $30. It's like, it's so stupid, but yeah.
Well, I drink Henry McKenna all day long. I mean, no, Henry McKenna sucks, but we don't. You know the deal, Brian. We don't talk about Henry McKenna.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah, we don't talk positively about.
There you go. We got to keep downplaying it.
Yeah.
But like there is so much there that is good and available for a lower price. People just don't want it. They want to have what they can't get.
Yeah, and social media is just like exacerbated the problem, it's because you see people taking pictures, taking a drink, or selling. You're like, oh my gosh, I gotta have this. So what,
Do they not want it though? I mean, people are buying that stuff too. It's just that it's getting replenished more quickly, right? I mean, the majority of what I have and what I drink is under $50 on a regular basis. I mean, I have those other high tier bottles, but I'm not drinking those every day. So I think sometimes I know I had that, I guess, newbie fever at one point where they could point me in the direction of anything that was expensive, and that's what you bought or that's what you wanted because you felt like it was rare and it was going to be gone. But I feel like that is fleeting. That does go away, outside of the people that are maybe flipping and taking advantage of that on the long term. I think at some point people they get it the same way that we do, and you start to look a little more seriously at that. I think that initial run is short. It's just we're seeing a lot of people come into it quickly. So there's a constant new flow of people that, they just point them to something that looks fancy and has some good reviews and it's expensive, and they're going to buy it.
All right. So before we run out of too much time, I want to kind of continue this because let's face it, let's be real. All of us are going to go out. We're going to buy a Kentucky Out Batch 2 because we need to fund these roller coasters that are being built at the Stoley Park. It's going to happen. And just face it.
Yeah, Kenny, I need you to buy some so I can buy one from you. I don't feel like shopping.
All right, so let's kind of move on to one of the last topics I want to talk about. And this is a whiskey that we had talked about the 11 year, but it's a whiskey that it garners a lot of attention in the whiskey world when you see Parker's Heritage Collection, when it either goes up for sale or whether it's a release every single year. However, the past few years have seemed a little bit. I don't know.
Lackluster.
Very lackluster, right? And this year is probably not going to be much different. And so this year is the Parker's, I think this is what, PhD 12. and this is the Orange Curacao finish.
Curacao.
It's not my flavor, right?
Did you say Curacao?
Curacao. Listen,
We're from Kentucky.
Kentucky. Just let it fly. All
Which
right.
is funny that Ryan
like
was the one calling you out. You know you said it wrong.
It's like
But the guy from Bar Sound say that I'm saying it wrong, right?
It's like
Curacao.
Versailles and Versailles.
Yeah, Kenny, just start it over so you can edit that first one out.
We're gonna let that one ride.
Just say it right a couple times. You could.
It's like Curacao shit. You know?
Hey, let me say this about the Curacao. Do y'all remember the Parker's malt? And the Parker's malt was Parker 9, I think. Parker's 9.
Yep.
Or 10?
Maybe it was 10, yeah. And everybody, was not looking forward to it. And what happened? People actually didn't overpay for it. I think you can still get them on secondary markets right around retail price. I think in this case, nobody's really looking forward to Orange Curacao cured stuff. I mean, they're sitting on so much rye. Can you not just put out a barrel proof?
That just seems like a home run. Either an aged rye or a barrel proof rye. That just
put out a damn rye. I mean, nobody wants
malt.
XCF is the same thing, right? So people have been saying Parker's Heritage XCF because they finish their Willet and Orange Curacao barrels and
Grand Marion.
I thought it was
I'm gonna say it wrong probably,
Marnier.
but Grand something.
Grand Marnier.
Who cares about that? Really? Like, do we need to reinvent the wheel? Just put out the good bourbon that you have sitting across gigantic warehouses over there and stop putting the crap in Orange Curacao barrels because I'm not buying the shit.
Which didn't
I bet you did.
Didn't Heaven Hill basically say that the Willet XCF was their release anyway or something?
Really?
I mean,
Well,
it could have been.
Yeah.
I thought it was a
Or
2-year
basically, I
that
thought they
was
said
also-
like,
It was also a rye that was finished in those. Willet.
okay, yeah, you're right.
And that was
Parker's
that was around
24.
$130 too. So that was around the same price as Parker's.
But it was really good. I mean, I'll try this.
I liked it,
frankly.
too.
I
didn't like it.
I wasn't a big fan of the Willet XCF, right?
You
I mean,
weren't?
that was also at the time when everybody was, at least, some people that I knew were like really getting ramped up in bourbon. And I mean, we had access to XCF like any day of the week if we wanted to, right? You just go to the distillery and just go pick up 6 bottles if you wanted. And the only thing that was really the selling point, because it had these stupid dangling like Godfather like hands on it, right? And like people ate it up, right? Don't get me wrong, like it's all marketing at the end of the day, and people really eat it up. But for me, that taste just wasn't there for me. I was just like, this is not the whiskey that I enjoy. And don't get me wrong, there's people that do, and good for them. But for me, that's just not my bag. So
I just wish, like Carrie said, just put out the Heaven Hill juice from 8 to like 15 years is so good. Why not just do a really good
They're 24. They're 24
No.
is amazing.
That's bad.
No, it's not. It's crazy.
That's really bad.
Carrie, that's why you never come in any barrel picks with us, because you think that's actually a good whiskey.
It's delicious. It's absolutely delicious. It is polarizing. There are people who either love it or they hate it. There are a lot more people that love it than you would think. And I think it's a fantastic whiskey.
Well, anyways, just like you said, do an
Anyway.
8 to 12 year or something like, gosh, just do something so simple but so good. A barrel proof, the best Elijah Craig barrel proofs out there, or Henry
Yeah, they
McKinnon
got
ones.
plenty of it.
They got so much of it. Just do that. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid, right?
If you look at a lot of the early releases of Parker's, the 27 year, you've got blend and mash bills. You've got some of these that
They're just epic. I hate to use the word epic, but they're great.
People dug them. But I think the problem is that, well, A, you kind of had to think about doing that years ago if you're going to release it. But B, I don't know if their strategy is that they don't want to do the same thing twice, right? And so that could possibly be it too.
Well, then bring
But
a
they
rye.
haven't done a rye.
Do the right.
Yeah. Bring a rye.
Well, I hope they listen to this podcast and then they'll be like, well, damn it, why didn't we think of that first, right?
I'm sure they're like, idiots, we have this planned out 10 years in advance. The rye's coming in 2023, but we've got 14 different finishes before that. So.
I mean, they've done the wheat, for crying out loud. Give us a rye. I mean, I was a big fan of the wheat, but give us a rye. I'm with you guys.
I told Bernie Lubers
Don't call them Bernie Lubers. It's
Bernie,
Bernie.
Bernie Lubers. I
Orange.
told him y'all need to do a rye. He said, I don't have any control. I'm like, bullshit, man. You're a big dog over there.
Listen to the
You
people.
gotta wonder why they're not, though. I mean, what? I mean, is it just timing? Do they think they're going to get more out of it by delaying? What's their read on the market?
I just
You know,
think they're
'cause they know
overthinking
they
it.
could drop one and people would be all over it.
Yeah, but they know people are going to be all over it no matter what because everyone wants the lineup. I mean, they could say, hey, it's PHC White Dog. It's going to sell out, guaranteed. So, still not going to sit on a shelf.
I mean, it is a cool bottle, right? Like it's a pretty sweet looking bottle. It's cool to have in your collection.
Oh, it's my favorite one. But I love the Parker's bottles.
I will say they're relatively easy to get where I am. I always have a crack at it around MSRP. It's unlike a lot of other stuff that's coming out now that disappears immediately. But for whatever reason, people just aren't after it. So that is refreshing that it's not too crazy. At least in some places. Although we get Four Roses releases here like a year after they release, so go figure. They're always
they're very
way
easy
late.
to stack too, unlike Old Forester birthday bourbon. I have shelf space with this stupid fat bottom bottle.
So there's a few good comments that are coming here. Joshua Smith said maybe we'll get a Parker's Heritage that'll come in like an orange juice carton.
Capri Sun.
Let's see. Chris Haynes said we need that 16-year rye finished in crystal Pepsi casks.
Yeah, the clear Pepsi.
Yeah,
Pepsi free.
Yeah, it's all it's all going to be sugar free for sure. So last one that I want to hit on because I know we're creeping up in that hour, but this is one we have to talk about because it's Booker's. Like everybody loves Booker's because it's cask strength, it's unfiltered, it's uncut. But the Booker's 30th announcement that originally came out saying it was going to be a 16-year. But Blake actually sent an email out this past week. He got some clarification from Fred. And so I'm going to let him kind of give us a recap of really what's happening with this release.
Yeah, so I should pull this up just so I don't screw anything up. But basically what they said was, hey, we're tasting it and it's not that great. We decided that we're going to add in some 9-year, and now it's going to be comprised of about 70% 9-year bourbon, 30% 16-year. Just got a little too over oaked. Which is interesting. You know, I could see if they said, hey, we're going to blend in some, but 70%, that's a pretty wide margin to be off by. But you know, I don't know. It's a little bizarre to me. And so what I'm thinking happened was, and I've kind of talked to a few people, and they're basically saying like, yeah, I'm not sure how this got through the first round of testing because it was just way too woody and not that great. So it is kind of cool that they would pull back and say, hey, look, you know, we're going to blend some in here as great as 16-year-old would have sell. But you kind of get, of course, everyone's going to come out and say, oh, they're going after more money. I don't know if they're going after more money, but I guarantee you every retailer, every distributor in the country, once they announced it, said, I'll take 4,000 cases.
As many as you can send.
Yeah. And then they realize, oh, man, now we've got a product that is not that great, and we don't think it's that great. We've got 40 times the demand of bottles we have with just the 16-year-old. You know, they're in a really tight spot at that point. So I think this was kind of a way to try to save face of, hey, let's blend in some of the 9-year and not really blend in some of the 9-year. Let's blend in some of the 16 to a 9-year-old product, get something we like, have much more of it to sell. So I don't know. It's a little disappointing that we don't get to see what a Booker's 16-year-old tastes like. But it sounds like it didn't taste good. So I don't know if we should be disappointed in that. You don't see that a lot from a giant like Beam. You know, Beam's $1 billion market cap. They're one of the biggest. To see them kind of backpedal like that, it just seemed a little funny. So I don't know if maybe somebody jumped the gun on the release or what. But you're going to have people who automatically come down on, oh, the accountants got involved, and as an accountant, I take offense to that because
bean counter,
we don't screw everything up. But no, so I think it was a mix. I think I said this in the post. It's still the release I'm most excited for this year, no matter what. The last 3-4 Booker's limited editions have been some of my favorite whiskey release. So we'll see what it tastes like.
I mean, that is true. They have a pretty good pedigree of putting out pretty good releases for Bookers, and I think they probably want to continue that streak, right? I don't think they want to become the next Parkers at this point.
Maybe blue Curacao for that 16 years, not orange or blue.
And that's kind of the thing. And I think I don't remember if I put this on Twitter, but if you think about it, if they just would have come out and said this Booker's 30th is going to be a blend of 9-year-old barrels and 16-year-old barrels, everyone would have still been really excited. It's the fact that they put it out and then pulled back on it a little bit. You think about it like when the Al Youngs came out and it's like there's a 23-year-old. Well, there was maybe 2 barrels of a 23-year-old in there, and
just itty bitty little ounces.
2 gallons left of it. But everyone was talking about, man, there's 23-year-old OBS. Was it OBSK or I forget what it was, but anyways, it's in there. So they kind of would have had that same deal if it would have come out initially that. Yeah, it's going to be a blend of 70% 9-year-old, 16 year, or 30% 16-year. But the fact that kind of came out, backtracked, that just gives the public perception a little different spin.
Robert, go ahead. I was going to say, Robert Daly had a pretty funny comment. It said, "Nothing says let's celebrate our 30th year like releasing a 9-year-old bourbon."
Well,
sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
Well, everyone wondered why the Knob Creek lost its 9-year-old age statement. They had to save up.
Yeah, but hey, what about Russell Reserve 2002, man?
Let's talk about that in a minute. Hold on. We're still on this.
Well, I can go to sleep at some point. This beauty doesn't happen without sleeping.
Okay. You gotta wait a minute. Ryan, go ahead. What you were about to say?
Well, this comment goes back to the Parkers. I had a buddy text me. Carrie's palate is that of a cat. Old sandpaper tongue. Parker's 24 is so crap. Just thought I had to say that.
That was perfect timing, actually. So that worked great.
Yeah.
Cut the man off, then you
bring him down.
And wasn't Booker's 25th about 10 years?
No, it's 13, wasn't it?
Was it 13?
Oh, man.
I can't remember.
Let me go pull a bottle. Hold on.
But I mean, it is fun to actually see. Some of these Booker's releases. I mean, you guys said it, like they've been home runs, every single one of them, and all of them fetch a pretty good penny on the secondary market. And even them coming out with Booker's Rye last year, they price it pretty heavily at $300, and people ate it up. There's probably some hesitation in some people, but at some point the secondary market's going to let you know exactly what you have here because the word's going to get out. So I hope that by being able to add in these 9-year-old batches that they are able to, extend the product a little bit more, but as well as make it pretty good. So
Booker's 25th was 9 to 11. 9 to 11. Yeah. So I mean that makes this release even more exciting because honestly, that's probably top five bourbons right there with Booker's 25th. So
and if it comes down to taste,
I like 9 year.
If it tastes as good as that did, that'd be fantastic.
Bring it.
All right. So we're gonna get one more minute on each one of these. Because I know there's 4 releases that are coming out, so we're gonna only talk about 1 minute. Carrie, you started it. Talk about Russell's Reserve 2002. Go.
I want to buy 5 of them, and I want to write down. I can't wait.
It's already come and gone from Louisville. I missed the boat, and I'm not gonna get one. So
I do have a secret insider information about it.
Tell us.
There is more. So the bottle was the TTB label said 2,500 bottles or something like that. There is actually more than that TTB label, just to let you know.
How many more?
Doesn't matter.
I'm not going to tell you guys. It's a secret that I was instilled, but there is more than the TTB label. I'll tell you that.
Well, they're gone from Louisville, so Kenny and I are out. And Ryan.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
I'd have to drive down to Atlanta because apparently they're just plentiful. They just sit on the shelves, right?
Well, I have 7 right now, so I'm trying to buy the 8th and 9th.
Yeah.
No, aren't they like $500?
I don't know.
I'll trade you a Roundtable Buffalo Trace for it, Kerry.
Yeah.
No, I sold
those
all
are
mine.
worth 140, right?
I sold all mine. I don't need any more.
Yeah. You and Dixon are driving Lambos now after selling all that bourbon, right? All right. So next one we'll hit on Wild Turkey Revival. Anybody had it yet?
Nope.
I'm supposed to get a sample. I haven't gotten it yet.
All right. Well, we'll hit that one again. I know you can still find on the shelves. It's like $130. It's like sherry cask finish or something like that.
Yeah, Oloroso.
Oloroso. That's right. Next one that's starting to hit shelves pretty much everywhere. I think people are really starting to eat it up. Is just Knob Creek Cask Strength Rye. It seems to be pretty plentiful. People are digging it.
I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
Hard to go wrong with a Cask Strength Rye.
Yeah, I did a Knob Creek Rye pick, and we had like 5-6 barrels to choose from, and I mean they were all really, really good. I mean they're doing something right there on their rye.
I mean, so when you do those rye picks at Knob Creek, aren't they only like 6 years old or something like that? They're not old.
Some were 5, some were 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty young, but yeah, and they were all about high 120s on proof.
Mm-hmm.
But all really, I mean, tough to choose from. All really good.
All right.
You get a lot of variation with those, Brian, or were they?
There wasn't a ton. Not on the ones we had. I mean, there were. I mean, we're enough to be able to decide, but all good. I mean, I would have taken any of them really.
All right. And so last one we're going to hit on is there. If you haven't been paying attention and you don't know anything about reading TTB releases or anything like that, Heaven Hill is also releasing a 27-year whiskey relatively soon, only going to be available in 5 states. And I think MSRP is like $300 or $400.
I want 5.
Yeah, we all at least want 2, right? So no idea if you're going to see it. I don't remember what states it is, but it's only like in 5 states, something like that, as well as the MSRP is up there. But it's a 27-year. If that rings anything like Parker's Heritage 27-year, that means you're going to be in for a treat.
I'd like that treat.
That's a fantastic older bourbon. I mean, I think trying to think of older bourbons I've had, I feel like that's north of 20. That's probably the best one I can think of right now.
Is the Parkers?
The Parkers, yeah. That's really good.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and we'll wrap it up because we are definitely over the hour mark. So I will go ahead and let you all go around the table and tell you, or just kind of announce where you blog and where people can find more about you. So Brian, we'll go ahead and let you go first.
All right, I'm Brian with Sippin' Corn, and find me on mostly Twitter, a little bit on the Google blog, and a little bit on Facebook. And come September, look out for the Bourbon Community Roundtable of the tasting of the Old Taylor 17-year. And in November, look out for my book, Bourbon Justice. Thanks, guys.
How can we keep Sazerac from appealing?
You got to hire him, feed him bourbon.
Exactly. Hire me. I'll give you some advice.
How do we find the addresses of their attorneys?
Yeah.
All right, Nick, you chimed in. You're next.
All right, so I'm Nick, one of the 3 guys behind Breaking Bourbon. Find us online at breakingbourbon.com, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Breaking Bourbon, and check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/Breaking Bourbon.
And you join the party too. We're all doing barrel pick clubs, right?
Yeah, that's it's the party's fun, so why not join in? Just newly launched, so check it out. We've got a little bit different kind of program than you guys are running, but I think they're all fantastic. I don't think you can have too many single barrel picks. It's just a fun thing to do, and I think sometimes that's where you discover a lot of the best stuff that's also not $160 a bottle necessarily. Sure. So
absolutely.
Exactly. And everybody loves a good review from Breaking Bourbon. You guys are totally in depth. So I think a lot of people trust your palate. So definitely go and check those guys out. Carrie, you're next.
So, hey, this is Carrie. My blog is writing is difficult when you're only one guy.com. And you can find me Actually, you won't be able to find me because selling my website. I'm going to make money, and I'm going to buy a Parker's Heritage and maybe a couple of them. But you can always find me trolling people, bourbonart.com, or on Facebook, Bourbon Art Group, and of course on Twitter at @bourbon_gamer. And feel free to send me an invite for Fortnite if you want. Thanks.
So you don't have time to write blog posts, but you have time to play Fortnite. That's.
I think I saw that his kids are away at camp for the summer, so he's got a lot of free time.
I do. That's a lot of fun.
I'm actually surprised you're wearing clothes tonight, so I appreciate you putting on a shirt for us.
I don't have shorts on or pants, but I got shorts on.
Let's wait till we end the podcast. Blake, go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, so I'm Blake from Bourboner. All the social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, BOURBONR.com.
You know how I know Blake has twins? I saw him chugging coffee and bourbon within like 20 seconds of each other.
You got to prepare yourself. I've muted screaming in the background. We actually hit what I call the quad in the family, which is all 4 kids screaming at once.
Yeah, I've been there.
You saw me go to and from a room. That's probably why.
You're gonna need to sell some of those bottles and get a different floor.
Oh yeah, no, we can't have nice things at this point. The floor is just, we've given up on furniture. Nah, we'll get new ones in like 10 years.
There you go. Good deal. So, fellas, I want to say thank you again for joining tonight. We had a lot of good discussion. I think we actually have more points we could say for next time because, one of the things that we didn't even talk about that is coming out relatively soon are 1792 bottled and bond single barrels. So expect those to start hitting markets relatively soon as well. So that's going to be very, very fun. Don't you dare yawn, Carrie. I actually picked one. Okay, it's going to be delicious.
I'm sure that extra 8 proof is going to be huge.
Yeah, what a dick, right? What a dick.
Okay, it's not 27 years old, but
it'll be all right. But again, thank you all so much for joining. Ryan, go ahead and wrap it up for us.
Guys, thank you all for joining us. I know it takes a lot of time to come in here and chat about bourbon for an hour and a half. So appreciate you all taking the time as always. To everyone listening, we're not here without you, so I appreciate you all listening in and keep giving us ideas, show suggestions, feedback. We love bringing content to you guys, so keep it up. And there goes Blake.
We love you.
He's out.
All right, cool. We'll call it there.
All right, see you.
Wait, what happened? Why'd Blake leave?
I'm here.
Yeah, why'd they say you were out?
I'm yawning.
Might have
He yawned so loud the Google Hangout picked him up.
So be honest, how much sleep do you get per night? Tell me just so the insomniacs.
Right now it's not. 6 hours.
But in 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off.
Yeah. Well, there was. So, are we still live?
Yeah, we're still live.
No.
We're still live. We're always live.
We were just bottle feeding for a month or so, and then I'd wake up at 2, feed one of them, change their diaper, and then I couldn't go back to sleep. So then I'm up from like 2 to 4:30, sleep from 4:30 to 5:30 or 6, and then wake up, and that was just like,
that's rough.
I didn't think I was gonna make it, but now
You're a zombie.
my wife gets up with them at 2:30 and feeds them, so I can't really complain too much.
Yeah.
But I did take the 3 boys, so my 4-year-old and the twins to Incredibles 2 on Saturday. That was an experience. We didn't.
You took the babies too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
They are going to remember that movie for their whole life.
Yeah, they're gonna love it. No, it was really just getting my 4-year-old out of the house because my wife was taking my daughter to a baby shower, and I'm like, all right, we're not just going to sit here all day. So
Sometimes it's easier to get in the car and go somewhere.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. They were good, though.
I'm going to stick you in a dark room with loud noises. You're going to go to sleep.
Well, it's funny, like one of them holding in well, Nick, I think y'all saw the movie tonight. So there's a few scenes where like all these bright flashing lights comes up and the babies are just like Oh, geez.
I probably saw it this past weekend. There is a warning at the very beginning that says if you have epilepsy, you probably shouldn't watch this.
Wow.
Or sensitivity to like flashes.
For some
or whatever.
reason, I can't. Which I thought that was
like
a
a rave.
joke, but then during the movie, I'm like, oh, that makes sense why they said this. it won't let me chat. I can't jump in the chat. It just says create channel to join chat.
Here, I'll put the thing back in the chat if you need to. I don't know. Maybe you're not logged into Google or something.
Maybe that's my problem.
Couldn't tell you.
Oh yeah. No, so it's been good so far. So when's the next barrel pick?
For us,
Joint effort for the Bourbon Community Roundtable?
oh, that I don't know.
Can you?
We all got
with,
like
Bourbon and
things now,
Beyond,
right? Everybody's you got Bourbon and Pro, you got Bourbon Pursuit, you got Patreon, you got Breaking Bourbon on Patreon. Everybody's got all these barrel picks rolling through.
I just want
we
to
got to
make sure
start a brand. We got to do a brand.
That's what we said last time, didn't we?
I'll have to say,
Cut the live stream, Kenny. Let's go.
Right now. We can't announce anything really yet, but we'll make sure to keep you all in the loop.
Yeah, we're
Especially
getting our trademarks lined up.
We talk about it as long as it's on public broadcast, but
Call it E.H. Taylor 1792.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, let's see how fast we can get sued.
Trace.
Yeah.
All right, I totally locked up there, guys. What happened?
Oh, good thing your attorney wasn't on for that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it locked up on me the whole time. I knew I was missing something.
Oh, we were just talking about that. What the name of the brand's going to be? We're thinking like E.H. Trailer 1792.
Yeah.
Actually, John had a good one. Bourbon Pursuit Barrel Proof BPBP.
Yeah.
Wait. So John Belushi said that. What did he say here? That you need bourbon fundage, and I actually thought it said you need bourbon fudge, and I think that you should sell bourbon fudge. I think that would be like a new thing. I think that's
Better
your
business model. Yeah.
Yeah, sell bourbon fudge. Like make bourbon fudge. It'd be really good.
I'm sure somebody's already started it, but I'll tell you this much. So Blake sent me a message and, saying he's got to get rid of a barrel. We're going to have barrels to get rid of. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what the fuck can we age in these barrels that we can just sit there and do something? Because I'm doing a Gatorade. There you go. I was like, because we're doing a collaboration beer, but it's like, man, it's like the some of the logistics behind it, like some of these, they're really hard to kind of keep track of. And so maybe I just need to find a better company to work through. But I'm just trying to think, like, is there something else that we could age in all these damn barrels that we're getting, or
vinegar?
Yeah, I was like,
what about Tabasco?
Hot sauce.
Yeah. Coffee beans.
Let's do our own hot dick. Oh,
yeah, hot round table.
Coffee beans would be bad.
I feel like there's so many coffee beans now. Like I see a ton of that.
They're expensive though. I just want
to make tomato planters out of them
every day. Did you see
somebody said pickle juice.
Guy who where a guy
Chick-fil-A. I like Chick-fil-A.
I like that. People
be like, a bunch of little nuggets in there, just keep
barrel aged nuggets.
Somebody sold hot dog water as a prank, and people started buying it. Like they set up a stand of hot dog water, and people were buying it and paying money for hot dog water and drinking it more.
That's disgusting.
Yeah,
that's not real.
I do Chick-fil-A sauce in a barrel.
Barbecue sauce and honey. Those are good ones. Meth. I see meth. That's an interesting.
Bourbon flavored meth.
Only if it's blue. If it's blue.
Maple syrup or something.
See the hot sauce thing. Like that's an idea. Here's the problem with hot sauce is that you got to get 53 gallons of this stuff to be able to put in the barrel, right? Like. Those things usually come in like peppers. Little like.
Well, we go to Costco.
Well, no. We'd have to come up with our own pepper puree, then age it in the.
This
barrel.
ain't Bourbon or Eats.
I'm making 53 gallons of hot sauce.
Go to a local, yeah.
One drop of
sriracha sauce.
Those little bottles of hot sauce too, like the fancy stuff, the off-brand stuff, sell for a lot of money. Those things aren't cheap. And you got to wait for that sometimes. You get these, the Scoville unit measurements. This stuff is so hot. Was there a video?
Lines that people camp out overnight for?
I don't know if it gets that crazy.
The hot sauce. I'm not as into
the hot sauce scene. Yeah. But I watched a YouTube video of Terry Crews like eating multiple wings with this hot sauce, and he was getting redder and redder and redder as he went through. talking about how hot these things are.
The one chip challenge. Let's all do the one chip challenge.
Have you seen does anybody watch the show Hot Ones, the YouTube show where he does, it's like 7 different questions with 7 different wings and they progressively get hotter?
I think that's where Terry Crews was. I think that's what the show was. Yeah.
It's really good. I bought like 7 different hot sauces off of that show.
It's entertaining.
Whatever they're doing is right. Yeah.
We're gonna do that next time. You guys seen the one chip challenge?
That's like the ghost chip thing, right?
It's one chip in a box, and it's the ghost
chilies or something.
And I think it'd be hilarious if we did that live.
If you sign it up for the next episode, buy it first.
I don't know if I'm down for that. I don't do well with like super spicy stuff. Like I love Thai food, but I'm like a 2.5, right? Maybe.
What do you get at Simply Thai?
You gotta do a 3. You gotta do it.
It's like I'll creep up to a 3. I'll creep up to a 3.
It goes up to 10. What's the highest?
5, I think.
Yeah, Simply Thai, it's 5. Yeah.
5 is miserable.
I'm mostly Italian, so like crushed red pepper, I'll put on anything. But like some of those
outside of that,
it's tough.
Doritos roulette. What's the thought on that? Who's had those?
I don't even know what Doritos roulette is.
You ever heard of Doritos roulette?
No.
Like one out of every 20 chips is really hot. they're hard to find. Is that real? It's a real true thing. They're hard to find too. They don't sell it that often, but sometimes they do, and you get this could be a really hot one, or it's probably not, right? So you
looks the same, and then you get the regular
looks exactly the same. Looks exactly the same. Yep.
How about we age Orange Curacao in a bourbon barrel?
I like it.
Do the opposite.
Yeah.
I got to answer Robert's question over here. He says, what's the trend with everybody here, like no longer showing off their sweet bourbon collections? He said, first Kenny and now Carrie. But I actually did. I moved the computers around, so you have a new angle now, so you don't see the outside. But I did try to put some bourbon. I did try to put some bourbon bottles behind me. Like, I got a few things here and there. But
flowers.
Well, what do you mean? There's a barrel bourbon. I think this is the Kentucky Owl Rye. I got a decanter and a Booker's over there, and got the old BT pick right here, just like looking good. But yeah, I think once I am ready to do a official remodel, like you're going to see shelves behind me because you can never have too many shelves of bourbon, right? So.
Amen.
All right, I'm out of here.
I'll see y'all later.
You got to change a diaper there?
Yeah, I got to go change some diapers.
Change 2.
Probably my own.
Yeah. All right. Take care, buddy.
Right. Yeah.
See you, Blake.
Yep.
All right, fellas. I'm going to call it a night too.
You got to get your beer.
Good.
Yeah, you got to do your P90X now.
Later, guys.
See you.
Later.
See ya.
All right, fellas. I'll drop out too.
Let's
all
all
right.
drop out.
Cheers. I was like, I'm staying on until I finish this. So I got at least.
I guess I got a little.
All right. Cheers, guys.
All right. Take it easy, bud. Thanks again for joining. And then number 2.
Oh, see you later.
I was like, and then number 2. So we'll see how fast it goes from 46 viewers down to 0.
So do we start hyping?
No, not yet. Not yet. We got a lot of things to take care of, but no. We got a lot of things. What were you drinking? Were you still drinking the President's Choice?
No, you can guess what I'm drinking.
One of those sample bottles then.
Yeah.
I was like, I figured while we were talking about it, I'd just bring up the Kentucky Owl Batch 1 up here because I think I've got like 5 bottles left, and now I realize I'm probably going to start nursing it so I don't have to go out and drop a bunch of dimes on it. So
I think you sold me 2.
Oh, I think I did. Yeah,
at least 2.
Yeah, because I ended up getting, like 14 bottles of this Owl Rye, all at retail, and I was just like, wow, I might as well get it because like it's there, and I know at some point I can hook people up. So now, like I said, I just started giving it away at some point and just giving it away for what I bought it for and whatever. So
Michael,
we got some questions rolled in here. So what is the next barrel pick? So actually Wednesday this week, which is 2 days from now.
I forgot that.
Yeah. So we're heading to Maker's Mark to do our Maker's Mark 46 blend. And so that's going to be coming out. The other thing that we actually are doing is that we have the We just announced that we're doing a Russell's Reserve pick as well. So we've got those two coming up. But actually on Wednesday, we're actually going to go do our Maker's 46 blend. That's going to be like a 3-way split with a few different people. So there's going to be, the thing is about Maker's Mark doing those blends. There's like,
have you done this before? I have not.
I have not either. So we're both going to be in for something here. But you end up refilling the barrels with Maker's 46 and you start sticking your staves in there. And at the end of aging for another 3 months or something like that, you end up having like 250 plus bottles. So it gets pretty expensive. So that's why a lot of times that people want to do barrel splits with that. So we end up doing that, but we have a full barrel of Russell's Reserve that's going to Patreon. And then we have been in, we're actually kind of still working it out, but I think it's pretty much nailed down that working in with a retailer out of San Diego that is going to give us all of his barrel picks or all the ones that we want. And so we're talking 6 to 8 plus private barrels that we can do from there through different distilleries and stuff like that. And then in addition to that is one thing that we can't talk about yet, but we have the ability to start dropping 1 to 2 to possibly additional like 3, maybe 4 barrels a month if people really want to start dropping money on it. So, that's one thing that we're excited to announce, but we can't talk about it.
Talk about the details.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there soon enough.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Dorado is wanting to know how the president's choice was. And
I mean, we tasted it, 2 or 3 weeks ago when we went to Old Forester as well. It wasn't bad. Yeah.
I thought, and it actually, I like it better tonight than when we had it there. For $75, I think it's a great. I don't think I'd pay anything over that though. But it's pretty good. I think Campbell did a good job.
Yeah, I think
he had Jackie helping him. She's a rock star. So
yeah, she does a good job. I mean, I think with what they're doing at the President's Choice, I mean, they have to, right? Like they have to do something that brings people in and attracts them.
Well, once they get in there, they're going to be blown away because that's the coolest distillery I've ever been in.
For a downtown location, we should have given it a little bit more praise in the podcast. I mean, it is really cool because you get to see everything. You get to see everything from where do you actually get where the grains dropped off? I don't think you saw that, but
no,
but you see, I mean, you walk in and you go down these stairs and you see all of the Prohibition history, right? You see like these bottles that are pre-pro, you see some writing on the wall, whatever it is, you get a little blurb, you go downstairs, and then that's kind of where you get into like this little media kind of jungle where you have
touch screens
you got touch screens, you got this like 3-minute movie that'll show, but then you also have like every Old Forester birthday bourbon that's on the left-hand side of the wall. And then you actually go through this like hidden door, it'll slide, and then you see fermentation tanks. And there's like 3 of them. They're not that big. They're like 18,000 gallons or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not that big considering most of them use like 50 to 60,000 gallon tanks, like
right.
Really, really small in comparison. But they actually are fermenting there. So they're distilling and fermenting, or fermenting and then distilling. So then you go through there and then you go up in this Willy Wonka glass elevator and you can actually, you're looking at the still. Like
you follow the column still the whole way up, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then you get off there and you turn left, you see some more pictures of just sort of history. And then you turn left again, and then you actually get into the cooperage, like an actual cooperage. Like they were sitting there like hammering in and actually building barrels, and then they roll them over and then they light them on fire right in front of your face. Yeah. Like they've got this thing, they pull you actually get the chance to press the button, fire goes through the barrel, and you get the opportunity to sit there and watch it happen.
Which is crazy. The engineering going into that, having fire in a distillery. So
yeah, I mean, it's pretty intense. And then not only that, so you see that part, and then see the part where they fill it, and then you actually they have aging there as well. So I mean, it's literally everything. Oh, not only they have aging, and then they've got bottling, right? Yep. They've got everything. Literally, like I said, every step of the journey they've got there at that distillery. So it's really cool to kind of just like walk through it. we should have given a little bit more praise in the podcast when we were talking about it. But I think it's gonna be a really cool destination for a lot of folks. I think and
they're going to be doing all the private picks there, which is cool. And then the president choice is going to be there, which I love the bottle design. I thought it was a really cool looking bottle. But it's pretty good juice. I mean, I wouldn't pay much more than 75 for it, so I wouldn't buy it on secondary. But if you're in the gift shop and have a chance, then I would buy it.
Yeah, and that's one thing that, at least around here, people are stupid, right? They're crazy, and as soon as the day that President's release was done, like there's lines out, like people are buying it up, and then they're on secondary like this, and people are buying them for like $400 a piece, and I'm like, aren't these supposed to be like always available at the gift shop or like always there? Like I thought they had like 3 or 4 barrels like just ready to go for this, right? And so I think they release like a barrel or two, and then they're kind of letting the dust settle, and they'll release some more. But
Campbell says when we interview him this fall, we're gonna pick one with him.
Oh yeah, all right, I'll do it.
That's what I negotiate with him during that lunch.
We'll negotiate with him.
I was like, we should pick the next president's choice with you, and he's like, hell yeah. He's probably just being nice, but
I know. I say, we'll
I think he likes to party.
We'll go to that. His house and go and help do that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. Any other questions y'all have? Because I think this is good. Oh, can we get a Henry McKenna 10 pick for the nerds? So we're trying, Josh. This is what's kind of it's like rumor at this point, is that Heaven Hill might be reinstating Heaven Hill or Henry McKenna picks in 2019.
But I don't think San Francisco helped that cause, though.
No, probably
didn't anticipate that happening.
No, but I mean, I think I don't see a reason why they couldn't. I mean, they did it before. Like, all I have to do is just reinstate it. Like, all they did is just slap a sticker on it, because you're handwriting everything on the label. That's all it takes. So I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, and so, this is the other thing that a lot of people don't get to see, is that Ryan and I got an opportunity to actually go see the bottling lines actually at Heaven Hill. And this is something that's usually not open for tours. And we got to go see where Henry McKenna's bottled. And this is the thing, is that like Heaven Hill is like completely automated, right? Like they've got machines that you've got. It's like a habit trail, but for bottles.
It looks like a Ford plant or something,
It really is. I mean, you've got like things that are crossing rooms, like all these lines of bottles that are flowing through, and then, automatically getting filled, and then they go like automatic labeling putting on, like it's just going like this and this and this. And then they're like, and then we start walking over, and I'm like, what are these 2 like pull out tables for that have like barrels?
They're like card tables.
Yeah. Like they're card tables. Like, oh, that's just where we bottle Henry McKenna. Like literally, like 4 people
and like their Evan Williams single barrel too. Like all their single barrels they do there.
Yeah, basically, and they do that because their huge automation that goes into this is that like there's only specific bottle shapes that it's actually designed for. And so Henry McKenna, Evan Williams single barrel, like these aren't for them. So there's literally a card table with like 4 to 6 employees that sit there and they write out every single freaking label, right? So talk about a tough job.
Yeah, but that would be cool if we got one. I'm not too positive on that, but I'd like to do an Elijah Craig one. That would be.
I'd like to do one if it's barrel proof.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
I know. It's like we know people at Heaven Hill, but like we're not. We don't know the right people at Heaven Hill apparently. So
the thing is, if we knew them. Well, we did know them 5-6 years ago, but if we knew what we were doing 5-6 years ago, we could have got this stuff. But whatever.
Oh yeah, now they're
handcuffed,
so they don't really need us anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So Rob, you actually had a pretty good thing right there. Can you do an episode or a Facebook post of must go places in Louisville, Kentucky, or like best distilleries or best bourbon bars for those who visit? And that's actually something that I've actually conjured, like I've got it in my notes to kind of do like what to do on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, like as an episode where it's just basically me and Ryan talking about like, okay, like if you're in, so you stay in Louisville, Like this is where you go for brunch, and then this is the first distillery you hit, and so this is where you spend day one on, like near Barstown, and then you come back to Louisville, you eat, you do whatever, maybe you go to Frankfurt on day 2 or something like that, right? Like essentially, like try to figure out like a 2-day planning podcast of like these are the places to go or these are the things to do. But
then we'll turn it into a PDF and sell it.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was like, what we should do is we should really talk to some of these people and be like, do you want to be mentioned in here? Because we're thinking about mentioning you. Like, I don't know, right?
No. But yeah, we could easily do that because I'm a big food guy. Kenny is pretty much as well, and so we know we'll steer you in the right direction. I think Kenny gives a lot of people advice when they email us, and they seem to be pleased when they leave. So yeah, and if you need help anytime, just email us. We can help you. But yeah, I think an episode on that would be good.
Yeah, I typically I'm always like, if you can Yelp or TripAdvisor like the best restaurants here, like it usually pans out pretty well. Like it doesn't really steer too far away from there. We're not like New York or San Francisco or anything like that where there's like 50,000 restaurants you don't know where to go, right? Like
no, there's like 5 or 6 staples in Louisville, and then there's like really good restaurants. I mean, we're blessed that we have a lot of good, but if you haven't ever been here before, there's probably like 5 or 6 places you need to go just because they're knockout, standout restaurants.
Absolutely. John says, I want to know what barrel pick you guys are going to call serial killer. That's actually the barrel one that we did a few weeks ago. So yeah. It was a funny joke because we were sitting there kind of doing this with Blake, and then somebody said Ryan looks like a serial killer. And we're like, what are you talking about? And then we're like, well, we're gonna call this one serial killer. So look for that. So if you are on Patreon, that's actually gonna go. The sign up starts tomorrow. 10 a.m. is when the Patreon notice is gonna go out. So we've got the sign up link already kind of ready. So get ready for that if you're a sponsor on Patreon. So there, just kind of going to forewarn you. I'll let you know, since most people that if they're on here listening, they kind of know what to expect because I put it out in there. I headlined it. I said, there's good news, there's bad news, there's worse news, but there's also better news. So the bad news, or I'll do the good news. So the good news is that everything is bottled. It is on its way to DC right now. So Blake is going to have it in his hands probably the end of this week or at some point next week. The bad news is that there were only 96 bottles in the barrel. The worst news is that since we did this with Blake, is that we have to do a split. And a 50-50 split, meaning that we're only going to have about 40 bottles available for Patreon folks, right? So super low count. Especially when we have almost 300 people.
Yeah.
And so it's not, I feel bad for it. Like I know that we could have sold an entire barrel of it easily.
Unfortunately, we don't know when we picked these, we didn't know what the barrel weight or what was, in the barrel. So it's just, we picked the best one, and that just happened to be a short barrel, which is usually the case, but yeah, right. I hate that it's that short because it's a really good one.
Yeah. So we only have about 40 bottles available. So that's the part that's like the worst part. The better part is that one thing that we have yet to announce yet that is going to be there is that we're going to have an additional 14-year bottle of whiskey that will be available here in the next few months. Right. So there will be more things coming.
A 14, a 9, and 11.
Yeah. So we've got 3 barrels picked out with plenty more within the pipeline as well. So that is one thing that you can find out. Let's see what else put on here. Quills, Mark, Quills Coffee.
Have you been able to get on the Four Roses Barrel program? I think we are with Kenny. Or I mean, not with Kenny, but you are Kenny. The San Diego store. Right?
So yeah, they've So I'm trying to work that out right now. So the thing about this guy that is in San Diego that owns all these stores, he just says, yeah, like, well, I'll just give you all the barrel picks. He's actually been invited back, and we might have a barrel pick in like September timeframe. However, I don't know if he wants to do a split with the store, or if we get it all. So we'll find out about that. I have pretty high confidence that at the minimum we'll get a split. So 60, 75 bottles, something like that. But that's one that is, honestly, it's kind of weird because for a lot of whiskey nerds, like everybody loves like 4 rows of single barrels. But for people that are in like barrel picking clubs, stuff like that, like they don't really care too much about 4 rows of single barrels because it's pretty commonplace, right? Like you can get them pretty much all the time. So we're definitely trying to get into it. I think the guy that we're doing with in San Diego will be able to take care of us. It's just going to be like I said, just a waiting game right now because he's supposed to get back with me a list of barrels options that we have to go and choose from.
Yep.
So
a lot of guys are asking what our dream picks would be.
Gosh. Oddly enough, it might not be bourbon, right? For me, it might be like El Cantonada, like what Blake was able to get, right? Being able to do some Armagnac or something like that. For me, I think a dream pick. I don't really know if there's a dream pick, right? I think they're just fun in general. I think so. I will tell you this: when I say a dream pick, we got pretty close to it when Ryan and I got to go choose some barrels recently, and we got to go choose a new 14 year, and we had it. And I said to him, I was just like, does this not remind you of like a straight like Willet 14 year? Like this is exactly like what this tastes like. Like it's got this oakiness, it's got this depth, it's got this complexity, but and I think that's probably what a lot of people would like, not some of this. Don't get me wrong. There's always great like 6 and 7 year old bourbon out there and, 9 and 10 year stuff. But like when you get up to these like higher age ranges, like, man, that's just hard to come by, like super, super hard now. And we had the opportunity to go and get a 14 year. And so I had it and I was just like, man, this is pretty stellar. So I don't know. I mean, for me, I think like those higher age ranges are as about as, dream as it could probably get. As corny as that sounds.
Yeah. I went on the 17 AIB. We went with them to Russell's, but the one at Willett's was pretty awesome, which hopefully we're still getting that. We are still getting that barrel. It just, the logistics got to get worked out. But I think if we could go and do like a real, well, there comes Walter. If we could just go get some of those, like, because I know they still got them at Willett's, like some 22 to 26-year-old barrels that are just sitting there, that would be pretty awesome. Or to do the same thing at like Heaven Hill, like, get some old 20+ year barrels, just go do that. That would be pretty awesome for me.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And that's what, so John Belushi just said, if I become the Heaven Hill barrel program coordinator, I'll hook it up, because actually my wife was talking about it, that Heaven Hill and Four Roses, both of them are actually trying to hire people to be like ambassadors for the barrel program, like actually help go and escort people around and do them tours, and then actually help them pick barrels and stuff like that. So I think they are ramping up that program.
You said Armagnac. I think if it wasn't or whatever,
you sound like me in blue or Orange Curacao, right?
Right. If not bourbon, a dream pick for me would be do like a 4-square rum pick, go down to Barbados and just
I saw that coming a mile away when you started going down that road.
Yeah, huff cigars and get some great aged rum. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Nick says, what's the retail price on the barrel 14 year? I think, it's barrel, so expect like 75 to 85 is what I have to guess. I haven't talked to
between
Blake
75 and 100.
Yeah, that's probably.
The barrel bourbon.
Yeah, barrel bourbon, the 14-year single barrel. I think it's going to be 75 to 85. That's what I'm guessing.
Most of them are 75, I think, barrel bourbons.
Right. Matt Bailey said, "Can you do a Boone County pick?" I sent that to him. So if you're on Patreon, there was a thread that was going on. It said like what because essentially I talked to this guy and he goes, "Yeah, just tell me what barrels you want." And so I put a thing out on Patreon. I said, "Vote for what barrels you would rather have." And Boone County, I think, came in like, I don't know, like 6th or 7th place out of all of them.
But actually, that's probably because most people don't know.
Well, I think
about them.
I think
it is.
They are because it's MGP, but they have high MGP stock, right? So it's anywhere between like 11 to almost like 14 years now, but 11 to 13-year-old MGP stock. And so yeah, it's pretty solid stuff. It's good. Would it be like my ultimate favorite? Probably wouldn't be bad, but it probably wouldn't be awesome. But who knows? I could be wrong.
If we could get one like that Snowflake bottle, that those guys, that was an insane good bottle.
Yeah, there's some good ones that do come out of there. But the thing is, people are picking barrels there like every single week, so they're just getting snatched up like left and right. So we've just got to get back, and not only that, it's in San Diego, so I don't even know if like Boone County is distributed there. So who knows if he has access to it or not. So
Havana Club 7, Josh Smith at Havana Club 7. I would love to do that. That would be, but I'm sure Cuba is gonna, Pernod Ricard is gonna shoot that down. There's probably no private barrel program.
Josh asked about a Jack Daniels pick, and I actually put that on there. Out of 193 people that voted, I think only 7 people voted to do a Jack Daniels pick. So I don't foresee that one in the future. Even though I was like, "Hey,
we're down.
I'm willing to try it. Like, it's okay." Turn the clock back and get on a JPS 17 pick. Yeah, that would be true.
Oh yeah, I mean
all the old Stitzelweller stuff for sure.
It was all at the Willits warehouse. So yeah, 10 years ago, just having the free reign to go pick whatever you want, like Reed and Bill Thomas were doing back in the day.
Yeah. Well, John, good luck on your interviews, man. I hope you nail that position, because if you can hook us up, man, we're gonna become best friends.
Michael Ross talking Snowflake Stranahan's. It was a OKI pick, right? 12-year.
What was?
The bottle called Snowflake from the.
Well, no, Snowflake is from Stranahan's.
I know, but the private pick we had OKI down in Lexington with those guys.
Oh, that was Ricky Bobby. That's what that one was.
It was Ricky Bobby. Okay,
that's what that one was.
Snowflake for something.
No, it was called Ricky Bobby. Yeah, so there was. It's another to be released episode of Bourbon Pursuit where we did a blind tasting with these guys from the BB&T Facebook group, Bluegrass Bourbon and Trade. But essentially, they do a lot of their barrel picks through there, and so we did like a blind tasting of our picks versus their picks, and they brought out their OKI 12-year, which was called Ricky Bobby. I think there was only like 54 bottles in the barrel or something like that. But man, it was good.
It had some crazy like coconut, like mango,
like something you would never expect to find in a bourbon. That's what I was.
It was insane. It was good.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. Anything else?
Why can't you say
where contractor expert? So Chris, we can't say anything yet because we have a lot of things
because of one of the topics that we were discussing today, trademarks and
trademarks and stuff like that. We have to make sure we get everything kind of nailed down, and then we'll kind of let a lot of the cats out of the bag. But I can tell you right now that the only way that you're getting access to anything is through Patreon. It's just sort of how we can give back to people that give back to us, right? So that's kind of where we're moving towards. So
and then Breaking Bourbon follows.
Yeah, it's okay. Hey, I mean, like
we copied on Blake.
Yeah, Blake had a good model to begin with, and we're like, hey, I think we can do this too. And then they said, hey, we can do it as well. So it's all good. Like there's plenty of barrel picks to go around. So it's always a good thing to kind of be one of these clubs. But hopefully we're starting to tread on some new ground that nobody else is yet. So that's what we're working on.
Excited about.
Yeah. All right.
I got a call night.
Yep. I was like, with that, I think we caught up on all the messages. So thank you everybody for joining in, and we'll see you
next time.
Another 3 weeks until the next roundtable. But we've got a lot of other podcasts coming out in the next few weeks. So
all right,
Cool.
see y'all.
All right, later on.